build those characters great throughout the entire movie. You really get to know.
You do.
You get to know these women, and you just love them. You just want to see them. You know, there's a scene where somebody just got caught out or got thrown out at second, whatever. She's running back to the dugout, and Rosie O'Donnell's like, "You're out, Brenda. You are out." And it's just like, I walk around saying that in the city sometimes. I'm just like thinking to myself, like, that's hysterical. You feel like it's one of your friends.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Grande Bouffe.
The Big Feast.
With myself, Cole Smithey, and my co-host, Mike Lacy, and this week's special co-host, David Cassese of Flying Dog Brewery.
What's happening, guys? Thanks for having me.
Oh, this is awesome. We've had Flying Dog beer on this program many times.
Most recently, when I was at Whole Foods, trying to figure out what I wanted to bring. We were going to watch Miami Blues. I wanted something kind of like fruity. I had the word tropical in my head. I'm looking around. I'm not seeing it. And I turn around, and there's a guy who's there, and you're demonstrating
just
Flying
annoying
Dog.
people just left and right.
and I gotta say, my first impulse was to be like annoyed because someone's trying to get me to pay attention to what they're doing in a grocery store. And then I was like, oh no, let me just ask this dude. And you were totally cool, totally helpful, and I was thinking like, all right, he's gonna ask what I need this for and why I need like a tropical beer. I'll just make something up, and I was like, I'll just tell him the truth. It's like, I'm going to a podcast. We're watching a tropical movie, and I need like a tropical beer. And like, what did you?
I remember it was cool, man. I remember that. I remember, I remember the interaction. You were really cool. At first when I first went to say what's up to you, just because I'll see people just looking at beer, and I'll just say something like, we know each, like, my whole approach is talk to someone like you already know them.
Yeah.
Hey man, have you tried this yet? No, it's really, just something, not like, hey, can I introduce you to,
Right.
So at first you were like a little, but then we started talking, it was cool, and you told me about the podcast, sound like a cool thing to get involved with. Yeah.
And so, the brewery for Flying Dog is down in Maryland.
Yeah, we brew in Frederick, Maryland. Our two head brewers are Matt Brophy and Ben Clark. And, man, we brew tons of good stuff.
Yeah, so I went to
Constantly new
school
things
in
in
like in Annapolis, and I'm from Virginia, so the whole DMV. So are you from up here? Or are you from down there?
I'm from Queens originally.
You're from Queens.
Born in Flushing, Queens, and then I did most of my youthing in that area and Long Island. Yeah.
And when did you get into the beer business?
So, let me see. However many years ago, a decade ago or so, I started bartending and managing at a Balkan beer bar on 9th and 47th in Hell's Kitchen called Balkanica.
Beer from the Balkans.
Yes.
All right.
Karlovačko.
I know mostly fake news from the Balkans. I don't know the beer that well.
The beer's pretty fake, too. No, actually, dedicated following. Karlovačko, Golden Pheasant. Let me see if I can remember them. Those are the two big ones. We also did Mythos, but Mythos is the Greek beer. It's kind of skunky and kind of, I don't know. You can usually push someone into a,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that's just the palate over there. That's that's like their fucking Budweiser. Oh, I'm sorry. Am I allowed to?
Please say whatever the fuck you want. Break down how you kind of break down beers for me. What are you looking for? Like, what's your algebra for like this taste, that taste? What's going on? Like,
for me personally?
Yeah, I mean personally, not just your preferences, but it's like, how do you read the matrix on the thing and get a sense of like what the different balance of flavors are?
Sure. Are you talking about like when you see a label, like a beer label, or like when you're actually
it's in your mouth,
gotcha.
when you're tasting it?
I will tell you right off the bat that I am not a sommelier. Mm-hmm. I have no formal training in beer other than drinking it and talking about it and feeling the effects of it and enjoying the hell out of it. But I've done that for a lot of years.
So you got a good.
I have a pretty decent
sense of that.
Right off one thing people discount right off the bat is the nose. Pouring beer in a glass, putting your nose right to it, and just really just taking it in.
You already poured us one before we were rolling. Let's talk about what this one is.
Tell us about this one.
Absolutely. This is our salt and pepper triple. It's part of our Brewhouse Rarities. Brewhouse Rarities is a amazing part of Flying Dog, one of my absolute favorite things having to do with Flying Dog, is that we all get to pitch beers. Everyone in the brewery, from the maintenance crew to the brew staff to the people who work the tasting room to, you know, all the way up the food chain. We get together for a big event once a year. It's actually coming up again. And at a reserve, at a weird little like hippie commune reserve type thing. And we all hang out, we talk beers, and we get, I think it's 4 or 6, I forget, each year that the brewers pick and they say, we're going to brew that. And this happened to be one of them. I forget who pitched this, and I feel like an ass, but Kerry, that's right. We actually even put the names of the people who.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's great.
And you see what it is? It's salt and pepper, and so like I had definitely never tasted pepper in a beer before, and it hits you where it hits you right is where pepper hits you is like
Yeah, it's
like
a little
in your
burn,
chest,
right
yeah.
in like the solar plexus.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. It's great because it's got the weight of the Belgian to it, and it's
Yeah,
got the
I was
spice.
gonna say,
Yeah.
you know, I'm not a fan of the Belgian style, but this beer for some reason is different. It really is.
that little bit of spice too.
It really does do
It
it.
is,
That's
not
yeah,
too much banana either.
Yeah.
It's like-
It reminds me of like when you have, I mean, the pepper is like a weird kind of spice, you know, because it's not exactly hot, but like it hits you further down. We've had spicy beers on this show before, you know, and like, you know, they hit you in the back of your throat, or like the Tabasco hits you.
Sure.
And it almost feels kind of, I feel like that's kind of gimmicky, right? Like I feel the same
there's
thing.
some to that. Some people make them gimmicky for certain. Yes.
Yeah. Like this is kind of like a richer, more like intentional like taste. I feel like.
Oh yeah,
It's very
no,
balanced for sure.
One thing we really pride ourselves in, and this is no bullshit. And this is something I wouldn't be with this brewery if this wasn't the case. Everything we do is tasteful.
Yeah.
Nothing is ever fucking blown out, like out of proportion.
Well, and if people are familiar with this because of the Ralph Steadman, you guys have
Sure, yeah.
who does all the artwork, and a few years ago, I met one of your CEOs, Jim.
Jim Caruso, absolutely.
There was an art exposition of all of the Ralph Steadman stuff, and it was
Nice.
amazing.
Yeah, man.
It was incredible. He's such a fascinating
Was that when the
artist.
doc came out on Stedman? That was a couple years ago.
It was. That's exactly right. It was right around that time. Yep, right then.
Where was that? Was that at Society of Illustrators?
That sounds possible. Yeah,
Cool. Yeah.
over on the west side. Yeah.
No,
Is it
actually,
on the
no,
west side?
This was 63rd and Lex. So this would be, there was probably, the only reason I asked is because
Yeah.
Ralph just did another retrospect this past July.
Oh.
And I actually got to meet him, and it was really cool.
Oh, awesome.
We did like
Amazing.
this big party for him. We just threw tons of beer. And
He's such an amazing artist. And so
What a guy,
prolific.
yeah.
It's such a cool collaboration that you have between the whole brewery and him. Like I don't know if I could speak of another brewery or even just like sort of like food beverage
And
brand that's so related
everybody's
to an
familiar with,
amazing
with
artist.
Stedman's imagery
Yeah.
because of Hunter S. Thompson, of course.
Sure.
I would be remiss if I didn't mention that Stedman was Hunter's alter ego.
If we do Fear and
yeah.
Loathing on this show ever,
Yeah.
I think we know what beer we're gonna drink.
I was almost
There you
tempted
go.
to suggest that,
Yeah.
but I didn't want to be too like,
On the
No.
all the Flying Dog guys come in. He wants
Yeah.
to talk
No,
about.
well, it's funny. We were talking about the movie. Obviously, we're doing A League of Their Own. Is the
Hell yeah.
movie that we're talking about, and Mike has seen it a ton of times.
Dude, so many times.
And,
Huge,
and
yeah.
for
to
me,
back.
I've seen bits and pieces of it on television, but I've never sat there and because I've never started at the beginning. So this is the first time that I've seen it really, and I enjoyed it.
I mean, for me, it's one of those
Beautiful, yeah.
movies that's like it's on.
It's a great
I watched it
springtime
a
movie.
million
Yeah,
times.
absolutely. That's
on
what I figured
HBO.
too. Good time of year to
Yeah,
talk
Great
about it,
time,
yeah.
you know. And I just watched it like a million times on HBO, right? And I mean, this is probably the first time I saw it straight through with like the beginning and the end. It's one of the like I feel like everyone's got those movies where it's like you see it on TV so much and like you never fully knew which scene came when or exactly how it starts and ends. So that was it for me as a scene.
Sure.
that
Oh
full
my
way
God.
through.
Yeah. Used to catch on HBO. Be like, oh, did the thing where he hits the kid with the mitt yet? Did that happen?
Yeah, like, did
Were
he-
they in the playoffs? I don't
Did
even
he
know where we are.
piss for like
Yeah.
7 minutes already, or is that after
there's
that
so
part?
much. There's so much classic stuff. One of the scenes that I really just I took exceptional glee in is the "There's no crying in baseball" scene
the
because
classic.
we all know there's no crying in baseball. Everybody knows
It's a
that.
staple. Yeah.
Yeah. And,
Oh, absolutely.
and of course, Tom Hanks is the coach who's telling the bawling female
Evelyn
player,
Garner, yes.
that there's no crying in baseball, and then but he has to he has to kind of bite his tongue because this is not guys, this is girls. Different.
Right. And that's one of actually the huge main themes of the movie. And that scene is, the peak of that, or like the perfect example of that. And he just rips into her like you would rip into, one of your guys on the field,
Yeah, so it's hitting home what is like clashing when you're thinking about women in professional sports. So like let's jump into like what the idea of this movie is. And after this, I propose. I mean, we all just split one beer.
I saw this man has an empty glass. I felt bad already.
I was about to say before we got too much further, we all just split one beer. Maybe we should all right, what's up?
Well, I bought Raging Bitch specifically for League of Their Own because we find at the brewery, we find it to be empowering, and it's not gender specific. It's moments when you just feel you have to go for it, when you have to rage. It's made with a very special type of use that's particularly aggressive. That's why we call it Raging Bitch. People might have other ideas about it. People might have, think that it holds a negative viewpoint towards females. It couldn't be further from the case. It's absolutely meant to be empowering, and that's how we view it at the brewery.
You're saying all of us in our own ways at different times can be a raging bitch?
Oh, fuck yeah, dude. Oh, absolutely. I rage. I'm a New Yorker, so that I was kind of born with it. It's like, it's like a warm blanket of rage that I wear, so.
Nice.
I flip out left and right.
Tell it like it is.
I've been doing better. I've been doing better with it lately, but.
All right, I'm going to crack this baby
Please do,
open.
Cole.
All
Thank
right,
you.
So here we go. So Tom Hanks is Jimmy Dugan.
Yes.
And people are going to be watching this movie and they're going to wonder, well, was there really an what's the letters for the All-American
Girls Professional
Baseball
Ball Association or something. Baseball.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of a weird thing.
An absurd acronym.
So is it real? Was there?
Yeah, it's real.
It's all real.
There's a thing called World War II, and most of the men had to go away. Including some of your favorites like Elvis and all the ball players who
Joe
I can't
D,
name.
of course.
Joe D, yeah. So what ball players were missing? I don't know. So how big of a baseball? I'm
a Yankee fan.
Yeah.
Even though I grew up I was born very close to Shea in Flushing.
Oh wow.
But thank you. You go with what you go with greatness. I mean, you don't. My grandfather was a Giants fan. And he was a Brooklyn Dodgers fan because we're from Brooklyn. Dodgers left. He became a Giants fan. My dad, then they left, so he became a Yankee fan. So it's like in my lineage to just like the Yankees for whatever reason.
Awesome. I'm a big Yankee fan.
Are you?
Miss Derek Jeter.
Hell yeah, the captain.
Yeah.
The captain before him, the only other captain before him was Mattingly. People don't realize that there's not always a captain of the Yankees.
I know, it's crazy.
Yeah,
and those two, and those two guys, what giants!
Oh my God, yeah,
it's
iconic. They're truly iconic.
Yeah.
Well, we're talking about specifics of real world baseball, not just this movie. So I want to be like, what beer are we drinking? Because I can't contribute that much to that.
Yeah. So.
Oh, you were asking me like, are you a baseball fan?
Well, I wanted you to talk about
talk
it.
shop over here.
No, I don't like.
Okay, all right. So back to history. So all the men were gone, and so they created this guy who was a chocolate bar guy.
Yeah, I don't know the factualness of if like a single Hershey's type person backed the entire league like this, but there was a professional women's.
Yes, and it was a shared a group of owners.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they kind of simplify it for the sake of sort of showing like the tug and pull,
of course, yeah.
of like this being commercially viable versus like a cool thing that everyone liked. So there's one owner, there's one kind of like league manager, this guy Ira, and then
Ira Lowenstein, sure.
Ira Lowenstein.
There you go.
And then we have a couple of the managers that we're introduced to, and one of them is Tom Hanks, a has-been who like drank his way out of the majors.
Yes.
And is slumming it, having to...
Jimmy Dugan.
Jimmy Dugan. He's slumming it, and he's making girls play ball. And on this team, we're introduced to two sisters who are kind of the heart of the movie.
Oh,
and their conflict is like...
Gina Davis, the tall, pretty one. Dottie
Henson. big Dottie Henson striding to the plate. Remember, Squiggy was the announcer, actually. Not people realize that.
Oh,
Squiggy from Laverne and
nice.
Shirley is actually the announcer.
Well, see, now we got the Penny Marshall thing coming.
Well,
Yeah.
because
Oh,
Harry
okay, yeah, yeah.
Shearer is doing the like these girls can sure play. Like
that was Harry Shearer?
Oh,
I didn't
oh my
know
god!
that.
Like honestly, I didn't look it up. I guarantee you it is.
That's
Like I know
great.
for a fact
I
it is.
love Harry
He's doing the film reel stuff.
What, girls playing baseball?
Yeah, girls playing baseball. What will we see next? Ira Lowenstein is in charge of getting these gals to go all the way.
And how about Marla Hooch? What a hitter! What a league! So good.
So Penny Marshall, Laverne and Shirley.
Right.
Sister of Gary Marshall, who
yes.
plays the
Walter Harvey.
Walter Harvey. It's his name, the owner of the league.
So this movie really falls into that whole culture, television culture of Happy Days and the George Lucas American Graffiti,
Americana nostalgia.
Yeah,
absolutely.
it's super Americana, but because it's war era, it precedes that. But Penny Marshall really has her finger on the pulse of doing nostalgia in a very tasteful and entertaining way, because we get to see a lot of action on the field, and that's what I like about this movie, is that you get to see the girls making a lot of plays.
Oh yeah,
It's fun. It's really fun.
It's out there. It's like on the same level of like Slapshot, where they're actually playing hockey. Like the Madonna's actually playing baseball.
Well, that's the other
Like,
thing.
it's pretty cool.
The casting is just, you got Rosie O'Donnell, you got Madonna, you got all these
Killer.
Gina Davis, you get these great women to watch. It's very, very fun movie in that way.
And they build those characters great throughout the entire movie. You really get to know.
You do.
You get to know these women, and you just love them. You just want to see them. You know, there's a scene where somebody just got thrown out at second, whatever. She's running back to the dugout. And Rosie O'Donnell's like, "You're out, Brenda. You are out." And it's just like, I walk around saying that in the city sometimes. I'm just like thinking to myself, like, that's hysterical. Because you feel like it's one of your friends. It's,
And Madonna as May, her character she's
all the way May.
She's
very sex positive, as we say these
Oh,
days.
yes, that's a good way to put it. Yes.
Yeah.
And what's the name of the team? The truck is driving away. It's got
The Peaches?
It's like Dirt in the Skirt.
Oh, dirt in the skirt, May. Dirt in the skirt.
That's the other team. I think that's the Racine.
That's the
Bells.
the Racine Bells, Dirt in the Skirt.
Who Gina Davis's sister plays with at that time.
So it is.
She got traded. Big. It was a big.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was a big deal.
yeah, big
We'll
deal.
get
Big
to it.
hullabaloo.
We'll get to it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
some-
I mean,
some
so
familial
like,
drama.
But what you kind of brought up, the Dirt in the Skirt thing, is it's highlighting that this was not going to be designed as just the let's put women in men's baseball uniforms and replace the league because we're just out of men.
Right.
It's sort of the sell of it was the sex appeal. And there's a great scene when they're in the training. They've all made the cut, and then they're shown what they're going to play in. And it's not a baseball uniform. It's a skirt, and there's no leggings.
It's a dress. It looks
a dress.
very
Right.
uncomfortable and
Yeah.
cheaply made. Yeah.
Yeah, and they have to,
Very stiff, yeah.
and Gina Davis's sister, her name's Kit, is like, I gotta play in that, and Gina Davis is like, I gotta squat in that, you know.
Yeah.
And May's like, "There's no pockets for my cigarettes."
But they're told in no uncertain terms that if they want to play, they're going to have to wear that uniform, and then there's nothing else that you hear about it. That's
the
it.
movie,
It's-
the movie tonally like rides that is in an interesting way. It's not Mad Men condemning those times as being like horribly sexist, but it is pointing at that sexism and being like, these women are real athletes who deserve to be respected, but they have to put up with this. And they did, and they're amazing for it. But you have like John Lovitz, who is the first like scout for them, and he's both coming onto them and like shitting on them. Yeah, and it's fucking hilarious, and it's awful, and it's like he's just like such a shit bag. And Penny Marshall just has this, strikes a very particular note in both, like, isn't it fucked up people were like that, and how funny is it they were like that the whole time.
Yeah, and I also
Absolutely.
I like the scene where the black women are walking by and a ball gets loose and she chucks it, and even
Tastefully done.
I thought that was like that. I made a special note for that because I was just like, it's your one homage to the fact that there were no black women in the league and the racism
but it's Penny Marshall. You have to keep that nostalgic tone, and yet you also have to give it that context. And so I thought that was a good moment of
it was a nod. It was a good nod.
It was a good political nod.
Yeah, the nod is specifically right that a woman throws back the pitch and she's got a hell of an arm.
Yeah.
But there's no chance she's going to be in this league.
And it's right, and that's the thing. She's addressing the fact that there are no black women on the league, and the fact that there are no black people in the stands either.
This is pre Jackie, right? Like this is.
I believe so.
So it's a really interesting, we're talking about it, but it's very interesting that there's a professional female baseball league for I think it was like 9 or 10 years, and it predates the integration of the league, and it's pretty phenomenal because they were essentially women were just seen as housewives, and then it's a Rosie the Riveter concept in this period. We're there. Right. This is sort of setting us up to the breakout of like the 1960s, and it doesn't hit it too heavy, but it's a big fucking deal. That
absolutely. It tackles a big deal through sports and through comedy. It's like, and you made such a good point before when you said like, geez, and just like totally completely fucked up, and this is how funny it is because that's how we grow as people. We have to have senses of humor about ourselves. We have to laugh. We have to laugh at a beer called Raging Bitch and say, this is hysterical. Not, that's offensive.
Yeah.
I don't like that. Because when you say that, that keeps us back. That keeps us from taking steps forward and evolving as people. I really do believe that,
Yeah. Well, this is... If you were going to have your Thanksgiving movie, everyone has like their Thanksgiving movie that they watch with their family. And I'm sure this is one of them. But the thing is, it's a springtime movie. Yeah. I think between, if you have a double feature with this, with the Bad News Bears, what a great double feature. And it's funny how both of these movies really hit on, these aspects of clashing between the sexes, and also the common ground between the sexes and athleticism.
True. Yeah. Tatum O'Neal.
Yeah.
Tatum O'Neal, right?
Yeah, it's Tatum O'Neal.
Yeah. Yeah. This, what sticks out to me in this movie, on this viewing, is the music. It is such a pivotal part of making this what is essentially one season of baseball feel both larger and smaller than that. Baseball is a weird thing like a whole season of baseball is a weird thing to make a movie about, because it's like, how many games you got? It's like
now what, 182, something like that?
Yeah, right?
Yeah, almost 200 games.
Right, that's a lot to condense into it. If you make a movie about a football season, it's like you can show a little bit of every game, right. And you could even kind of show who wins and who loses, like a fucking Quidditch season. What is that, 4 fucking games or whatever? It's like you can get, like, every movie's got a piece of that. Like, this movie uses its soundtrack to jump us between different scenes from different games really effectively, where you're up in one game and you're down in another, and it's a night game and it's a doubleheader in another one, and we're flying around, and what's like tying that together is like the soundtrack that is just, I noticed this time, it's just so like beating and positive.
Yeah.
Well, and you would expect that from Penny Marshall, because that played such a big part in Happy Days and Laverne and Shirley, and of course American Graffiti. Have you ever seen American Graffiti, Mike?
So I told our audience that I'm going to be honest about things like this.
Yeah, that's okay.
I've never
That's all right.
seen
It's okay.
American Graffiti.
Well, see, when I was in 7th grade, I went to this Lutheran school, this private Lutheran school, and I had this pal of mine who was like, "Yeah, man, you got to drink more milk." And he was like, "What?" Yeah, milk, it'll make you stronger. You got to drink more milk. And have you seen American Graffiti? Like, that was, because he was.
Those are his two things.
He was really into American Graffiti and really into drinking milk, which is kind of, you could see how those things kind of go to like milkshakes and Americana and all that stuff.
Sure, that makes sense.
And I like the idea of drinking a milkshake because it's got protein. I like that idea. That sounds cool.
George Lucas. And it really, that's the movie that set up Happy Days becoming this huge,
I didn't know that,
syndicated television show.
That was a dot that I wanted you to connect for me. So Happy Days seems very tonally different than American Graffiti.
Well, of course, and this is what happens when a bunch of suits get in a room and say, "How are we going to take all the money that we made off of American Graffiti and turn that into television dollars?"
I hadn't heard
Totally
it explained like
different,
that. It's like let's make a movie, let's make a show out of that thing that Lucas kid out of San Francisco made.
And then a spin-off of Happy Days was Laverne and Shirley.
Right.
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 Yes,
And there's,
yeah,
there are infinite like spin-offs there.
And
but-
so the
Joni and Chachi, right? Was that?
Mork and Mindy, like there was like 7
and
of
Mindy,
them,
right?
right? Like there's a shitload of spin-offs of it. NYPD Blue. No, I'm just kidding.
Mork and Mindy? I don't really.
No, dude, Mork and Mindy. Yeah. Mork was a character on Happy Days as a fucking alien.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
I'm
forgot
27 and I know that.
I'm glad. I've forgotten all of that. I've forgotten more than you have.
You know, when I said I'm 27, I really thought I would have more impact, but it sounds old to me.
Well, it is. Yeah, wait till you're
33, cuz. You're as old as you feel. You know?
Yeah. I just wanted it to be like, I'm 16 and I know that, but it's like, it's not the same effect.
No, it's not. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you love that in like YouTube comments? Sometimes somebody writes something like, "This is the hottest thing I've ever seen," and I'm 14 years old, or something. They're like, really just stuff.
I want to know what YouTube it is.
No, well, and of course, and any time that there's a crime or something, and they're interviewing people in the street, and they're some 19-year-old, it's the worst thing I've ever seen in my life.
Right.
Yes, it is, dear.
You
got a long way to go.
Just
wait.
Yeah.
It's a lot worse.
Speaking of youth, this movie has a piece about kind of the truth that women tend to be the caregivers, and there's a kid in the movie because it's this thing you're never going to see in a movie about a male ball league is one of the women has to take her kid on the road with her, Stillwell, who's the biggest piece of shit.
Stillwell Angel.
He is
Stillwell Angel.
He's a mess. He's a terror.
He's the worst kid
He's
ever.
only eating like the league sponsored chocolate, it seems like.
And leaving the wrappers on the field, and who knows what he.
You're gonna lose.
But I came away from this movie appreciating Tom Hanks so much because he really does play a believable drunk.
Unbelievable. It's perfect.
You really
so
do think
He's
that
really
this guy's on the fucking skids, man.
It's
And then,
out of it's like as committed and developed as a character as I mean, it's not that it's his best character, but as Forrest Gump, like it is that.
Oh, don't come on! You can do better than that.
I know, but it's that much of a departure from like the Sleepless in Seattle hit. Like it is like it seems like a different person.
Depth.
But you know what? It's his
Yeah,
artistry
absolutely.
as an actor because he knows how to perform those dramatic beats. He knows how to plan out all of those dramatic beats, and Gina Davis does it too brilliantly. Everyone is brilliant. I love Madonna. I love Rosie O'Donnell. I love everybody in this movie. But Tom Hanks has because he's not the main character. Gina Davis is the main character, and the main relationship is between she and Kit. So he has a really tough job to do because he has to be the supporting character who the plot turns on, but he's not the protagonist.
And he and Gina Davis have a particular like it's really a friendship, you know? Like you see something blossom between them, and he's technically an eligible man, though he's a fucking hot mess, and she's a married woman.
She's waiting for her husband, Soldier, to come to return.
And this is inspired by a true story, but they, loosely inspired, so they could have gone any direction they wanted. And so her husband could have died and they could have got together, but that's not the choice that was made. It's that what really develops is respect between the two of them. And it's
I really like the scene where he meets the husband near the end of the film, where they meet and they have their mutual respect, and you need a scene like that. You need that scene. And Penny Marshall's a very smart director, very smart filmmaker, because I have some problems with the end. I think the nostalgia gets milked a little bit too much in the end. I presume
where they flash back to the present.
I presume that the people that they have, the women that they have at the end, for the most part, are the real players. Is that right?
To a certain extent, yes.
Yes.
Is that what it was?
It seemed like it. It seemed like it. And I appreciated it and everything, but I just didn't feel like it. I guess it wasn't edited the way I would have liked. I felt like it went on too long.
You know what it's so similar
for the movie.
You know it's like bizarrely similar to
Schindler's List.
I was gonna say No, dude. I mean, like, no, you're exactly.
I mean, there were
I was
Jews
about
in
to-
both movies.
I was
but,
about to say. I was about to say Saving Private Ryan,
Okay.
right?
All right,
Because
okay.
that is framed by the old man going to the grave. We're not sure which one he is, and then is there another beer?
Oh,
I
look,
have
we're
a
drinking
ton of
beer and
Yeah.
talking about movies. What could be more fun? I really just hope that our listeners are having
as good a time as we are.
at least half as good a time as we are.
I hope every listener has an employee of a brewery with them right now, like
with
opening up bottles for
a
them.
cold bag from which there are beers being brought forth. The truth is one of the first ones that we did. Is that what we did for
beautiful.
the Panay taxi?
We definitely do. Is that we did the truth? Yeah, I think so.
I think so.
I'm not sure which one it was, but it was. We've definitely had this one.
Yeah, we've
before.
had this one. Love this one.
We
Our
have no
Imperial
issue
IPA.
with doing it again, as you can
This is,
see.
yeah, this is.
I love it. Thank you guys.
Thank
the
you.
double IPA.
No, an Imperial.
Oh, is
It's
it Imperial?
IPA.
Oh, okay.
Our double
My
IPAs
bad.
are not a problem. Our double IPAs are Double Dog. It's 11.5%.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
It's our
Yeah.
most popular
It's
bottle.
a monster.
The Brewers.
What's an Imperial IPA?
An Imperial? Okay, great question for beer knowledge. So more or less, a double IPA means double the hops, but it's also going to increase the alcohol quite a lot. Imperial just means that it's of a higher alcohol content. So it has the same relative hop character, but a much higher alcohol content. But that's the technical terminology. But now, when people do Imperials, they hop the shit out of them too. And this is our most out of balance beer. This is the hoppiest, skunkiest, great. It's a favorite of everyone at the brewery, undoubtedly. This is what we drink.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. So, the term Imperial came from when, and they might bash me on the comments of this, whatever, so I might be chopping this up a little bit. More or less, Imperial came from the British bringing, it's often Russian Imperial and Imperial, or more or less, you've seen Russian Imperial on beer label.
Yeah.
More or less, this very similar things. They mean the same thing, because when the British bought beer to Russia as like a piece or as a as a gift, they put extra alcohol in it for celebrations and things like that, and they called it their Imperial. Whatever it was. Much
okay.
like how IPA is only India Pale Ale, because they had to hop the shit out of it to get it even close to being hopped correctly when they bought it all the way to India. So these terms go back a long way. And
Yeah,
now
I love that
modern
political
brewers-
Yeah, wow.
connection.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
No, this is my kind of beer right here. It's
Yes,
nice and bitter.
Oh yeah, it's right back in the
I
glands back here.
love it
Yeah.
when it's bitter.
Very bitter.
Great, bro. Nice, and a little bit of citrus on the nose is really good.
So, David, what are some scenes that pop out in this movie to you?
Oh God, narrow it down. I could tell you,
You're pulling quotes out left and
one of my
right. This is
favorite
clearly. I
movies.
mean, let me.
Well, I like the I
What do you got?
got
What do you
one more.
got,
I
Cole?
got
What do you
the
got,
one
Cole?
when they're on the bus. I really love the scene with Gina Davis and Tom Hanks on the bus.
Oh, okay, at night when they're driving through.
Yeah,
okay,
it's
sure.
a great scene. It's as close to
Is
the
it where she pulls out her photo of her husband?
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's as close to romance happening between them as we
Yes.
get, and it's when she says, have you been married? And he says, yeah, a couple of times, and she says, any children? And he says, yeah, one of them.
Yeah, one of them was. Yeah. And he gives her like a knowing nod, and she laughs. It was perfect.
I busted up laughing. I busted up. Tom Hanks has got great comic timing.
Oh God, he's a killer. He's absolutely a killer. I do acting. I pursue
yeah,
acting.
tell us
at
about what kind of stuff you're up to, David.
Oh yeah, I pursue acting on very as hobbyish at this level, but I still pursue, and I study film. I watch a lot of film that I like, and this is one of the movies that I love, and it's to me, Jimmy Dugan is the role of a lifetime. That's like what I feel that in my heart. Like I watch it, I'm like, I fucking love this guy.
Do you think
It's
you
my
could do like
favorite dude.
Do you think this could be like a stage play?
Oh, interesting.
I think about that a lot for some
I never
reason.
thought about that.
Is what movies could be turned into a play, because sometimes just like the acting roles are just so rich that you're like, let's get rid of a lot of like these set pieces and
Yeah.
stuff and just get like these characters on a stage. And I feel like Jimmy Dugan is like a really like eternal character like that. And then also the
could see
interplay
that. Yeah.
between
You could have Gina Davis do the splits on the stage to catch the ball. That would be
That a
good.
rocket. That was so rocking when she did
that was right.
And she
And also,
comes
and
back
you
to
know
the
what just occurred
dugout.
to me is Gina Davis did that. Right?
Yeah, she actually, there was
yeah.
nobody that she did fucking split. It was banging. And he comes back to the dugout and he was like, he looked at her and he said something to the effect of like, are you fucking kidding me? And she was just like, I thought it would just, bring attention to the league. And he just goes, oh, give me a fucking he just like, please.
She's a very
was so
reserved
pissed.
character. She's like, there's so many things to say about her. Is like in that moment, like she's fucking savvy. Like she hears she hears that the league is in trouble, and she kind of does like the math in her head, and she's like, well, I bet if I catch a ball and do the splits with my big sexy legs, that everyone will like that.
Right.
Like she doesn't fucking like she's not May who's like gonna like go out and like make
Oops, what if my bosoms come
Well, that's
flying
it.
out?
And that's a really interesting aspect about her as a protagonist is that she's a big picture person. She's got dreams, she's got plans, and she has things in context. She has things proportion. Her life, the way that she thinks about her life is not how most women of that era, I'm guessing, considered their existences.
Which I think is why, we've been complaining, or at least Cole and I have been complaining about, like, the sort of the frame narrative of it, where we start with her as an old woman, and first of all, we were talking about this before the show. Gina Davis is the only actress that plays herself elderly.
Right. Yeah.
And
That's a good
that
yeah.
fucking old people makeup is outrageously good on Gina Davis.
It's so damn good.
Remember,
It works so
when I
well.
think of the worst, speaking of Happy Days, the worst fucking old people makeup is in Ron Howard's A Beautiful Mind, where Russell Crowe and Jennifer Connelly are like accepting his Nobel Prize, and they look like the cheesiest fucking old people in the world.
You didn't buy it.
They don't buy it at all. But Gina Davis is like just absolutely.
No, I can't get over that because I was sure that they had found some actress who looked a lot like an old lady Gina Davis.
I legitimately thought it was a different
Because her
actress, so I looked it
sister
up.
Kit, the woman who's playing her sister Kit, looked just like her, and I was like, all right, well she's in makeup too. And I looked it up, and no,
that's totally not Kit.
it's not
Yeah,
her.
yeah.
It's not
That's
her.
not Lori Petty. Yeah.
So Gina Davis is like really pulls off looking old in it, but the frame of it is there is this like sorrow and kind of like something like was wasted in a miss about her life. Like she has this big pictureness, and all the other women, when you see them at the end, have this like, oh, look at this fun thing that we did. That was so amazing. Like that was the best part of my life.
Right.
There is this like Gina Davis had 2 or 3 more lives after she was in this league, but then also maybe was never really doing what she wanted to do. Like you're never really sure that she was actually happy that she left baseball.
Interesting. I never.
There's
She played for that one season.
That one
and
season,
was-
and she went off and she had kids with Bill Pullman, and I gotta say there's one point where she shows the photo of her husband and it's Bill Pullman, and then there's a question as to whose husband died. Right, there's a scene. There's a scene where there's a telegram
Spaghetti,
that's come, and we don't know whose husband has died. And I'm like, well, it's not Bill fucking Pullman because we saw his picture. Like they didn't just get a picture of Bill Pullman.
But
you thought for a minute though.
But see, there again in that scene,
that would have been a good twist to get Bill Pullman for a photo in a movie.
The way that Tom Hanks' character comes alive in that scene. And
beautifully done.
And takes the thing from the
turning.
delivery guy.
That's
his turning point, and that's it's executed so precisely.
Yeah.
It's you really feel it. It hits you in the gut.
Because the scene starts so jovially.
Yeah.
He walks in and goes, already dressed. All right, what do we get? What's Stillwell doing with the tape? Get that kid away from the tape. I don't know what he's doing. Get him away from there.
And is that the one? Like, what does this smell? What does this smell like? Oh, Alice. Alice thinks it's bad luck to change her socks. Like, Alice.
So we all have to suffer? Really? Come on.
Alice, you're killing me. You're
killing me.
me, Alice. You're killing me.
Goddamn killing me. He's like, slaps the thing. Oh, it's great. Beautiful. And then, so it's like at a high moment. That scene is at a high moment. He's
is it like the 4th game or something, right? Like,
I think this is before the playoffs.
Is it before the playoffs?
Or it might, I think this is before the playoffs, but it was towards the end of the season. It's kind of vague how the season
But
goes
it
on in the
definitely,
playoffs,
where it is it's highlighting is that, like, there are such enormous stakes right here because there is a war going on, and all of these women. Because you put it, it's like, oh, cool, girls playing baseball because all the boys are away. They're away because they're fighting the fucking Nazis.
Right.
There's these huge stakes that almost all of these women have a husband who, at any moment, they might get a telegram and find out that they died a month ago.
Right. Yeah, you don't find out till so much later.
And then we've got that great scene at the end with David Strathairn taking on the owner, the chocolate guy.
Strathairn is Ira
Lowenstein, right?
And they keep. Ira keeps getting in front of the owner, so they're against the rail.
Who's Gary Marshall?
That's right. Yeah.
Oh, that's Gary Marshall.
Yeah,
that's Gary Marshall. Yeah,
okay.
Sure. Yeah.
So Gary Marshall is going to shut down the league. We had our fun. The boys are coming back. We don't need the girls' league anymore. And David Strathairn's character will not let it go, and he keeps getting in front of him. And the way the thing is staged is it's like a ballet. It's like a dance performance, and you just want him to get in front of him again, and he does. Yeah. And then it's like, wait a minute, is he gonna let him go? No, he's gonna get in front of him again. It's so good. It's so good.
You would like that little like conflict with authority right there, where he's like showing it to him, and he's like, no, look, like we have to do this.
And then Ira goes so like. Goes, oh, what do you want me to say? Gee, Rosie, turn in your rivets. The boys are returning home from war. Back to the kitchen. And fucking Gary Marshall goes, what do you want me to do, Ira? Tell the boys returning home from war to go back to the kitchen? And he's just so like, he just looks at him like he's a schmuck. But like Ira has such passion for this, and like you really feel for the guy, like because he believes in these women.
And you get that historical perspective. You really understand how these guys think.
Right,
that's great.
And like what's interesting is like what's never like a third option for them is like maybe we could have female professional sports. Like that's not an option. It's
it's
like
just
they're
black and white. Yeah,
it's either they're scabs for the dudes, or they're fighting the Nazis, or like they're going back and like nothing has progressed and nothing's changed.
But we know that for some of these women, they'll never be better at anything else than this. This is their
true
moment.
for many jocks, right? Like I mean,
sure. I mean, it's a common thing among sports because you give it your all. You have that camaraderie. I played football in high school. You guys play sports in high school?
I swam, yeah.
Yeah, you develop that camaraderie with those folks. Yeah. I never played football for another minute after I was 18, but I still remember. Like I could see a dude in a bar tomorrow who I played with in football. I'd be like, remember that time we played Plain Edge? Like in Long Island, where like, remember that? It was freezing. We're eating bananas on the side. We were down like 30-0. It was their homecoming, just getting our asses in. It was like, all right, this is gonna sound totally awful, but it's not. It was like you were in like a thing with someone. Not unlike going to war, not nearly as serious.
No, I know.
But like you were in a thing with someone.
Sure.
Sure.
And what this movie gives everyone who has seen it, like it gets the like road sports movies like better than like any of them really. Is you come away and like what we've been doing is like these scenes are like the same kind of stories that you come away with, like you're like, remember when like, okay, it was the top of the 7th and we were playing the Peaches and there were 2 people up and there's a guy in the stands and he's fucking pissed drunk. It's like you come away with these kinds of stories and somehow like Penny Marshall captured that in a very particular way.
Here's the deal. Penny Marshall, Christmas Miracle, she did the impossible. She made a rom-com that guys will like.
Well, it's a rom-com, but like, is the romantic comedy between a girl and her sister, and not in a way that we normally cover on this show?
Well, it's a genre question, or is it a sports comedy?
This was going to be my one big question for you guys. What do you consider this movie? Because I have great thoughts on it. It's a sports film. It's a drama. It's a comedy. It's a period piece. And it crosses so many lines. There's hardly any profanity in it. There's no sex.
That's true.
There's hardly any romance, and your attention is captured the entire time. Kids love it. Adults love it. It's it's probably the most universally accepted film that I can think of.
Yeah,
and I've watched a lot of film.
You could play it to like a bunch of like 17-year-olds.
Anybody
and they'd be
loves
like, that's fucking cool. You could play it on a church like road trip on like a charter bus.
Yeah.
You could play it anywhere. Yeah.
It's kind of like Flying Dog Beer. You could,
Jesus. That you're good, you. That was better than I could
Don't
even.
say 17-year-olds love it, okay? That's not gonna help anybody here.
Well, if asked,
the
okay.
artwork, you know.
If paid.
You can enjoy it in the park. You can enjoy it in the bar. You can enjoy it on your podcast. You know, it would be great if all of
like
our
green eggs
listeners,
and ham,
you know,
yeah.
if our listeners had their own little bottle of salt and pepper triple and their own little bottle of Belgian style IPA Raging Bitch.
That's right.
And also the truth. Like
Truth,
they could follow us in our drinking, and then they would know how truly drunk we are now.
You should play the podcast drinking game. That should be a part of your podcast.
I think that is basically the game that we're in. We split 3 beers, but I felt like we all drank 6. Is how I feel like right now.
Well, that's because you weigh about 104 pounds.
All right, that's how I feel.
This is breakfast for me. I could do another couple more if you guys want to do. So.
All right, what's is Slapshot up next?
All right.
I would love to come back and do. That's another movie that I know.
Well, look at this. All right. Well, you're invited. We're gonna go Slapshot between Slapshot and this movie and Bad News Bears. Those are my favorite.
You made a great point about Bad News Bears before, and Bad News Bears is interesting because
pull out another beer, man.
Let's do it. Bad News Bears. Let's do our Snake Dog.
Yeah,
Newly
Dog.
reformulated
IPA.
with additions of Galaxy hops.
I felt like we were rapping, and I'm so glad we're not. Let's keep going. Let's double down.
Who can I fill? There you go, sir.
Thank you.
All right, I'll be there in a second. Hold on.
Bad News Bears is interesting.
I can barely talk now. I just bought a copy on Amazon so I could have the DVD because no house should be without a copy of the Bad News Bears. I couldn't believe I went so long without one.
That Billy Bob Thornton movie from 6 years ago?
No, not that one. That's Richard Linklater.
Did you see that? That was whack.
That was Linklater?
Yeah, that's Linklater.
What's he doing?
I know. Well, it's the Billy Bob Thornton problem.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know.
Is that a physics thing? What's the Billy Bob Thornton problem?
Yes, it's a physics problem. For the formula, there's a 2x squared that's missing.
Yeah, there's an equal and opposite reaction to dating
Thank you.
Angelina Jolie. Is that you make some weird movies for a while.
And they carried each other's blood in little vials. Do you remember that?
Yeah, and she made out with her brother too.
She did. Yeah, very publicly. That was kind of ugly.
Yeah, what's up with that?
That was gnarly.
No, but you were talking about a connection between Bad News Bears and this.
Bad News Bears is interesting because a lot of
more
people
vulgar than this.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, by all means, yeah, please, thank you. Bad News Bears is a kids. People view it as a kids movie, but it's got way more profanity, way more drinking, way more like aggressive behavior than way more like inappropriate, like hugely inappropriate behavior between children and adults.
Well, see, this is the difference between the 40s and the 70s.
Right.
Shit was very different in the 70s. I grew up in the 70s. I was a teenager in the 70s. I was born in 63. And I could tell you some stories that I can't tell you.
I want to hear these. So, yeah. It's funny. You think we would progress as a culture, as a species, whatever, but it just got fucking worse. It's interesting. Well, and now we censor ourselves so hard that no one can. Oh God, I don't even want to get into that. But
no,
yeah.
I hear you.
What's interesting with this movie is it's got like a critical eye to its time, and we were saying this earlier. You know, like it's viewing it from also 1992 is a different place than we're at in 2017.
Yes,
which I'm pretty drunk, but I'm gonna say 2017 is a crazy sounding year. But anyway,
just sounding.
It's just
futuristic.
Compared to 1992, 1992 is a real year. 2017 is some futuristic bullshit.
No, it's true. We all had 2001 in our minds. You know.
Yeah, that's way too far.
Yeah, that's way so far, and now that's way so far behind us.
It's in 11th grade. That was a while ago.
That's before 9/11.
But
that was 9. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Dude, you tipped me. I don't know. I don't know what I got. Yeah.
Really? I busted you?
No, No, he busted me with all this beer. I just crossed some sort of threshold right now. I don't know what I was talking about.
This is my favorite part of drinking. You're good. You
boy.
Say whatever the hell you want.
All right, so here's my question.
Yes, please,
David. What's your favorite movie? Is this your favorite movie? Or
this is one of my favorite movies of all time, undoubtedly.
Tell me your relationship to this movie. That's what I'm trying to.
I don't know. I just I played baseball as a kid. I love I remember just watching it when I was a kid. It's just, you know what it is? It's something that I've watched.
Do you have brothers and sisters?
No, I'm an only child.
Oh, okay, me too. Only child.
So this is actually, that's interesting you bring that up because I was just about to say this is something I've watched with my mom and enjoyed.
Yep.
Something I've watched with my dad and enjoyed. Something
Yep.
I've watched with my friends and enjoyed. It's like a movie. Well, I used to play in this reggae punk rock band like a while ago, and we used to.
Bad Brains?
No, not nearly as good. Like I was Bad Brains.
What's the name of the band?
It was called Shakedown.
Okay.
It was
Good
like
name.
2005.
Good name.
And we actually, in our first EP, that blows. I would not even give you a copy of it because it fucking blows. But the best thing about it is that we sampled League of Their Own
Get out.
record. Because there were like a
What
handful
did you
of-
sample?
there was like a break in the end of one of the songs. And it goes, like there's like a, like, but it's like leads up real quick and then it just stops and there's like a, and then the end hits, and in that hit, we sample Jimmy Dugan going, "Who's Lou?" When
The bus driver.
The bus driver. When the bus driver quit, one of the best scenes in the whole movie.
Yeah.
He wakes up from a drunken stupor. He kisses the old lady. He's like, "What is it, baby?" And he kisses, Miss Cuthbert.
Yeah.
They both scream, "Ah! Why are we stopped?" And then Betty Spaghetti's like, "Lou quit," and he's like, he looks at her like, "What the fuck? Like, who's Lou?" So we used to go around saying it just because it was hilarious because we were drunks and we would just laugh. We're like, "Who's Lou?" Like, it was just a favorite movie. We used to have this Shakedown compound. We had a music studio in Seacliff above. It was the old horse stables for the fire department.
Nice.
And we had this music studio above it that
Awesome.
we used to live at.
Wow.
And just like bug out. And just
How
have a
long
blast.
did you do that?
I lived in Seacliff from 2005 until 2008 or 9.
So that's like Bob.
Yeah.
That was like what the Pink House was for Bob Dylan. That was for you.
That's so funny you should mention that because our other favorite movie we used to watch fucking, I don't even know how we got into this, but we used to watch The Last Waltz. And then we got into like Dylan, and then we got really into the band.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Love the band. The
Yeah.
band was our shit. We used to
There you
cover
go.
like Dixie.
Oh,
We used to
wow.
cover The Weight. We used
Oh,
to do all
wow.
this like, yeah. And
Oh,
we get,
nice.
I was just watching it last week. I haven't seen it in full. I was watching clips with my friends last week of The Last Waltz, and they were talking about the scene with Neil Young. Or do you know about the scene where they?
when he's coked out.
He's coked out, and they had to CGI out his coke booger. We don't know.
No, they did
That's
not.
like a famous.
Okay, we
thing
don't know
about
each
the movie,
other,
yeah.
and we both know about
Yeah.
this, so it must be true.
No, but when I saw the film on the beach. You know, they show movies on the beach in Cannes.
They rotoscoped it in the day. So
I saw it. I saw
That
it.
must have been awesome.
I saw it in I always make sure whenever I go to Cannes, I go to at least one of the movies on the beach because they have these nice little chairs.
When I
must
was
have been
there, I
cool.
saw The Usual Suspects on the beach.
There you go.
Fucking
That was
love that movie
fucking
too.
great.
There you go.
Absolutely.
Last year they showed The Great Dictator right after we had done our podcast about The Great Dictator. They're showing it on the beach.
Oh, nice.
It was
I wonder if maybe we got a little bump from it.
very,
I don't know.
very, very pleasing to watch Chaplin doing his thing against the Riviera.
There was some shit. Neil Young was a shady character at that. I mean, he wasn't. I love Neil Young. I'm a classic rock fan. But Neil Young was fucking weird during that because he had him all coked out and he's like smiling oddly and just being like twitchy and shit. And then he sings the slowest song. He's so coked out. He sings "Helpless," which is like the slowest fucking Neil Young song. And he has his girlfriend in the back. Her name escapes me right now. Who the hell was his
It's not
girlfriend?
Joni, is it?
Joni Mitchell, exactly.
Oh fuck! Yeah,
Did you
she's
see-
in this weird curtain.
She's
thing.
in the curtain in the back. She's not
Yeah.
even on the stage. It's like some weird shit. Like, why is she back there? Like, she wasn't like allowed.
Right,
I
it's
mean,
Joni fucking
yeah.
Mitchell, and she's like they got a camera on her, and it's fucking like the Sultan's wife, like in this weird
Exactly.
curtain.
So-
It's bizarre.
There's some weird politics going on. If you want to read a great book, read "This Wheel's on Fire." Lee Von Helm wrote his autobiography. It's fucking awesome. You read it exactly how he speaks, like a southern drawl. It's killer.
And it's called This Wheel's on Fire.
This Wheel's on Fire. Lee Von Helm wrote it maybe
Oh,
10 years before he
cool.
passed. Oh, it's
Awesome.
fucking great. And he talks about The Last Waltz and just what a shitbag Robbie Robertson was and just
Oh yeah.
it's I love it.
Well, everybody knows
Yeah.
Robertson was a gorehound. That guy was. He was
Yeah.
such a He
Dude,
was a
just
gorehound.
corporate shill fucking
Uh-huh.
and you read the book and you're like, and because Levon, you could just, I mean, like, if you're a decent person, as we all hear, you can good judge a character. You can tell. You meet Levon Helm, you're like, this dude's this man is salt of the earth.
Yeah.
He used to have the Midnight Ramble up in, I think, Rhinebeck, New York, or Red Hook, New York. My little cousins, and my aunt and my uncle used to have a house maybe 5 minutes away from there. And they used to go to his barn for the Midnight Ramble and hang out. And they got to meet him and hang out with him. And my little cousin, her boyfriend used to play in the band with him. And it was like,
Whoa.
they just said he was the coolest fucking dude around. At like, whatever age he was before he died, he was just like, he was one of those dudes that was older, but he wasn't old.
Yeah.
Old is a frame of mind. Old is not like
Rick Danko had that reputation too.
Yeah, Rick Danko was chill as shit.
Yeah.
Did you ever see like what is it, Festival Express? Festival Express is a great one. They're going on a train. It's like the band. I want to say the Dead was there. I might be wrong about that. Bo Diddley, Janis Joplin, just on a fucking train, just drugs flying, beer, booze flying, and they stop and play shows. And there's a great scene where Danko is just like out of his face on whatever he's out of his face on, and singing and playing, and Janis Joplin is sitting right next to him. You see in her eyes, she's like, "I'm going to fuck this man
Nice.
so hard."
Oh my
and you
God.
can just see it, and she's
Oh
just
my
like,
God.
"Oh, I love him so much."
Nice.
You gotta see,
Yeah.
Festival Express.
All right, Festival Express.
Great fucking film.
I'm gonna try it in to tie it into the League of Their Own.
Go for it. Go for
I
it.
mean, it's a road movie, and it's about people being passionate about what they believe in, and it's
Damn
like
right.
it's so easy to. I mean, this is interesting because it's a sports movie, and there are some like specifics of the game that like come up. And what I always remember from this movie is the rule about knocking over the catcher,
Right.
to score on home base, where it's like. Even if they tap you out, but if they drop the ball after you knock
Safe.
them down,
Yeah.
you're safe.
Yep.
That's like the one specific of baseball that like you learn watching it. Other than that, it's kind of like general, like
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think about
going
that.
on a trip, like going like out on like whether you're in a band, if you're like on a sports team, if you're I don't know on some
Incognito.
incognito. I don't know. It's like I feel like it's
As
easy.
as James Bond in Monte Carlo.
Yeah, but it's easy to put yourself in the headspace of like this sort of like we're at camp, we're away from our real
Yes.
lives.
Yeah.
And it also raises the stakes because they're away from the real lives because their husbands are at war and everything is like in chaos and flux and society is changing. And so it's great because it's like you can relate to it, you can put yourself in it, and then also this is a very important transition of society. And there are these amazing heroes that all of us can look up to.
And there's this cultural experience that people can come and share in and forget about their worries and forget about the world's troubles. And baseball is important.
Yes,
we know
absolutely.
We know that Jimmy Dugan really thinks so. And
You know what it is? It's weird, man. I've been realizing this the past 2 years or so in baseball. I don't watch. I used to be a big Yankee fan. I have no idea who's on the team now. I don't follow it all.
Guardy's still on the team. Guardy's stealing bases like a maniac.
Yeah, and Sabathia's still pitching, and we still got.
Yeah.
But there's something about it that's exceptionally comforting. Just
I
to
agree.
know that it's baseball season. I'm in 50 bars a week with what I do. Not bragging. I'm just saying I go, and when I go into a bar and the game's on, the Yankees are on, it's just fucking comforting for me. It feels good.
Yeah.
It's like a thing that I know, a thing that I grew up with, and there's like a lot to be said for that. Like when you watch this movie, you're like baseball. We all played baseball. We all threw a fucking ball when we were a kid. It feels good. So
All right, so
well, let me give one thing. Let me give one thing.
Let's let our guest have the last
I
word.
was
That was such a good.
It was good. But I already said this, so I feel
Yeah,
like it was
yeah.
good. All right, so
Go ahead, man.
I was telling my girlfriend I got to watch League of Their Own, and somehow she hasn't seen it, and I'm gonna make her watch it. It's gonna be amazing. But she showed me this, and I've seen it before, but it's this George Carlin bit about the difference between football and baseball.
love it. Huge Carlin fan. Know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah,
Yes.
you know this bit.
And I saw George Carlin. I shared the same air as George Carlin in the Starbucks
Did you
at
really?
53rd and Broadway. Yeah, this is about 10 years ago.
Did
I'm
he,
fucking
And
jealous.
and
did he say
he-
tall or did he say small?
No, listen. I walk in. I'm gonna walk over and get on the line, and I hear this voice, and you know that voice when you hear it.
Yeah,
that Carlin
man.
voice.
Oh.
and he says it dead serious, but it still sounded funny as hell. I want a cup of ice with no tea, and a cup of tea with no ice. And
You're like, holy
and I
shit.
just died in my. I stayed right where I was, and I observed the master get his tea.
So you got
Ice
2
combo
cups. You got
and
2
walk
cups.
over to the thing, and I didn't say a word. What could you say? Sure, I could have done the to Mr. Cronin, a big fan, but it was just better just to let his words ring in the air.
Fuck
I
yeah,
want a
dude.
cup of tea with no ice and a cup of ice with no tea. I heard George Carlin
That's
speak those
fucking
words
amazing.
in Starbucks, which is and he was, I guess he was doing something for Letterman, because that's right.
Oh, yeah?
That's Caddy Corner from the late night.
Oh, right, okay,
studio, theater.
Well, the bit that I was going to bring up, and also feel free to say something after this, please. I agree.
No,
we should
please.
end it. But
Mike, what do you want to hear?
I'm
Mike,
fucking wasted.
Give me your beer. Let me help
right,
you. Let
all
me.
right.
Yeah, you
Hold
can't.
on.
You
Hold
can't.
on, you get-
Oh,
no,
no,
you
once
can't.
he's pulling out another
No,
one.
no, no,
another
Mike
truth
can't.
and
Mike,
another bitch if you
come on,
want.
let me help. No, I can.
But
I can.
the bit that we watched was about the difference between football and baseball, and how football is about 20th century war, and it's about
Right.
two
played on a
teams
gridiron.
using on the
Yeah.
gridiron, the advanced technology, and of using the aerial attack to where baseball is
Everything's described in military terms in baseball and football.
right. It's where baseball is about getting home safe.
Exactly.
And I think this
Yeah,
movie
it's
really
great.
is like hits that line. It's like there's war going on and it's brutal, but there's this pastoral like sort of this homage to this
Very
pastoral
American,
game. It's
very American
very
cultural
American,
touchstone.
but it's also like almost like violently progressive because we're out of men to play it and women have to play it, and so against our own like wishes, we're going into the future while engaging in this like brutal conflict. That's very much like it's like I almost want to call this a war movie. You brought up all of these types of movies it is, and it is a war movie, but the war is all off camera, which is
Right.
Yeah,
fascinating.
but it's still mentioned that there's a war going on,
And
all the
you
time.
don't
Yeah.
forget it.
You don't forget it. Yeah, it's a constant theme in the movie. Yeah, that's so funny. In football, there could be sudden death. In baseball, there could be extra innings. We don't know how long it's gonna go. It's fucking hysterical. I'm gonna go watch that when I get home tonight. It's one of my favorite. Oh, dude, he's fucking great. Oh, yeah,
right.
and he makes great points on all that. Absolutely, a true poet.
Well, thank you so much, David Cassese, for coming
Yeah,
on from
thank you, Cole. Appreciate it.
Flying Dog Brewery. We finally have connected with a brewery who we have drank many beers on the podcast of. Remember,
I love it.
to turn your cell phones off. Just turn them off,
them the
okay?
fuck
Just
off.
turn them the fuck off. And anything you do,
Yeah.
don't walk down the street staring at that fucking thing, okay?
And when you're sitting in a bar, put your fucking phone away and talk to the person next to you. Do us all a favor. Thank you.